Welcome, everyone. In this explainer, we're going to dive into some fantastic research material from Dr. Sudheendra S G. Our goal? To break down the core concepts of cybersecurity and make them really clear and practical, especially for all you teachers and educators out there.
So let's just start with a simple question, something we all deal with every single day. We use locks, maybe even fences, and definitely keys to protect our homes and our classrooms. But how much do we really think about the locks that protect our digital lives? I'm talking about your grades, your emails, all that sensitive student information.
It's really the same idea. Just like a physical lock or a security guard has a digital counterpart. The goal is, well, it's exactly the same, protection. A password? That's just a digital lock. A firewall? Think of it as a digital fence. The basic principles are totally universal.
So here's our game plan for navigating this world. We're going to start with the absolute foundational principles. Then, and this is the fun part, we'll learn how to think like an attacker. And we'll wrap it all up with some real, practical steps you can take today to lock down your digital classroom.
Okay, let's get right into it. Every single security system out there, I don't care if it's for a giant bank or your school's network, it's all built on three core pillars. This is what's known in the biz as the CIA triad.
First up, the C stands for confidentiality. This is all about keeping secrets secret, right? So when you see those headlines about a massive data breach where student records or credit card numbers get leaked, that's a total failure of confidentiality. It's like a sealed envelope just got ripped wide open for the world to see.
Next, we have the I, which is for integrity. This is all about trust. It's about knowing your data is accurate and hasn't been messed with. Just imagine this. A hacker gets into the school network and starts changing grades in the online gradebook. The data is still there, sure, but its integrity is gone. You just can't trust it anymore.
And finally, there's A for availability. This one's super simple. It just means the system is up and running when you actually need to use it. If some attacker floods your school's website with a ton of junk traffic and it crashes right before final exams, well, that's an attack on its availability.
So okay, you've got these three pillars: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The thing is, to protect them, you first have to figure out who you're protecting them from. And that process, well, it's called threat modeling. It's really all about getting inside the head of a potential attacker.
And this quote really nails a key idea here. Security is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Your defense has to match the risk. I mean, you don't need Fort Knox to protect your lunch, right? But by the same token, you're not going to use a dinky little padlock to protect state secrets.
Now, this whole process of threat modeling might sound super technical, but it's something anyone can do. It really just boils down to four logical questions. 1. What am I trying to protect? 2. Who might want to attack it? 3. How would they try to do it? And 4. What am I going to do to stop them? Answering these simple questions is what turns you from a potential victim into a defender.
Okay, so this brings us to the front door, right? The most common security thing we all do probably a dozen times a day, logging in. This whole song and dance is about something called authentication, which is just a fancy way of saying you're proving you are who you say you are. And Dr. Sudheendra's research breaks it down beautifully. There are really only three ways to prove your identity. First, there's something you know, like a password or a PIN. Then there's something you have, like your phone or a special security key. And finally, there's something you are, think fingerprint or Face ID. Now, when you use two or more of these together, that's called multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And trust me, it is an absolute game changer.
And wow, look at this. This chart shows you exactly why things like MFA and strong passwords matter so much. A computer can just churn through every single 4-digit PIN in like no time at all. It's nothing. But look what happens when you just increase the length and add some complexity. The number of combinations just explodes into the trillions. It becomes practically impossible to guess.
So if you take away one thing about passwords, let it be this. Length and randomness are way more important than just jamming in a bunch of complex symbols. A long, easy-to-remember passphrase like, say, 4 random words is often much, much stronger than a short, complicated mess like P, @SWORD1, exclamation point that you can't remember anyway. When it comes to passwords, length is your best friend.
All right, so let's say someone successfully logs in. The job of security is not over, not even close. The very next question is, what are they actually allowed to do now that they're inside? This is all about something called access control.
Okay, so this is a classic model from security research, but it's actually elegantly simple. It just runs on two very basic rules. First, no read up.
That just means you can't read a file that has a higher security level than you do. Makes sense. Second is no write down. This means you can't take top secret info and just copy it into a public document. It's a really powerful, simple way to stop information from leaking where it shouldn't.
And this brings us to this idea of containment, which is so important in modern security. You always have to build systems with the assumption that things will go wrong at some point. That's where a sandbox comes in. It makes sure that if some app you downloaded gets infected, the damage stays contained in that little box. It can't spread and harm the rest of your system. It limits the blast radius.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the why. Now let's get to the what. Let's translate all this theory into a really simple, practical checklist that you as an educator can start using, like today, to build up your own personal cyber shield. All right, here it is, your personal hardening checklist. Think of this like a workout routine for your digital life. Use long, unique passphrases, and please enable MFA everywhere you can. Keep your software up to date. Just turn on auto updates. Practice least privilege. If an app doesn't need access to your contacts, don't give it. Be super suspicious of phishing emails and weird links. Back up your important data. And try to keep your work and personal computer use separate. Seriously, just doing these things drastically improves your security.
Look, I know that was a list, so if you only do one single thing after hearing all this, please make it this one. Go enable multi-factor authentication on your most important accounts. I'm talking about your email, your banking apps. It is, without a doubt, the single most effective security step you can possibly take.
You know, we've covered a whole lot of ground here, from those core pillars of security all the way to a personal action plan. But remember, cybersecurity isn't a product you buy, it's a process. It's something you do. So the real question, the one I'll leave you with, is this. What's one step you're going to take today to strengthen your digital shield? Thanks so much for joining me.